Hi, Cooper Glover, 1972. Like I said, I'd be back with another video when I received my Criterions in the mail from the Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion sale. So today I received my movies. I bought I bought 7. So let's get to it. Anyways, first film is by Yasujiro Ozu, and I have a whole bunch of his movies. When I showed my collection, I showed my Ozu films, and anyways, a few of my Ozu films a friend of mine's borrowing. But anyways, so I got a new Ozu film, and it's Good Morning. In Japanese, it'd be Ohayo gozaimasu, or Ohio, like morning, if you're just saying morning, you know. I don't know tons about this movie. I saw a clip from it on YouTube. It's about these young boys who want to have a television set, and it came out in 1959. So all these are Blu-rays, by the way, and I'm looking forward to watching this. This is a silent comedy with the 2008 called I Was Born But, with the 2008 score by Donald Sosin. A new interview with film scholar David Bordwell, and a video essay on Ozu's use of humor by critic David Cairns. Fragment of a Straightforward Boy, a 1929 silent film by Ozu. An essay by critic Jonathan Rosenbaum. So, another film to add to my Japanese film collection. And also, speaking of Japanese movies, here's another one by a different director, Kenji Mizoguchi. Now, I have Ugetsu Monogatari. I don't know if I have Sancho the Bailiff. I think Mizoguchi directed that too. So I'm looking over there at my films. A Life of Oharu as well. I have that, and I think that's Mizoguchi too. So if all that's correct, then I guess this would be the 4th one I bought of Mizoguchi's, or maybe I'd have to go back to my bookcase and take a look at the Mizoguchi films I have. I know I have at least one. So this is the story of The Last Chrysanthemum. I don't really know anything about this, but being Mizoguchi, I'm sure it's going to be worth the watch. And the Japanese subtitle is Zengiku Monogatari, which is sort of like Monogatari meaning story, because Ugetsu Monogatari I think means ghost story in Japanese. So that's the story of The Last Chrysanthemum. It's got an interview with critic Philip Lopate about the evolution of director Kenji Mizoguchi's style, and an essay by film scholar Dolly Andrew. So now I've added another Hitchcock film to my collection. Technically, I haven't. I showed in my collection, my DVD and Blu-ray collection videos, a few box sets I have of Hitchcock, and in each of those technically there are 3 box sets, but one of the box sets technically is just one disc with 3 movies on it. So basically, maybe I really have only 2 Hitchcock box sets. And both of those, I think, have this film. They might have the other one as well on it. But I decided to buy it because it's Criterion, and you get some, I think you get some interesting information that you wouldn't normally pick up on something else that isn't Criterion, bonus features, So this, by the way, it's a lodger. It also comes with another movie with it, which is Downhill. It's got a new score by composer Neil Brand, performed by the Orchestra of St. Paul's and presented in uncompressed stereo. And the Downhill movie has a new piano score by Brand as well. Interview with film scholar William Rothman on Hitchcock's visual signatures. New video essay by art historian Stephen Jacobs about Hitchcock's use of architecture. Excerpts from audio interviews with Hitchcock by filmmakers Francois Truffaut and Peter Bogdanovich. And radio adaptation of The Lodger from 1940, directed by Hitchcock. And a new interview with Brand on composing for short silent film. And essays on The Lodger and Downhill by critic Philip Kemp. So, and I see that BFI is involved with this British Film Institute, so that's pretty interesting. What was I going to say? This features audio footage of Francois Truffaut interviewing Hitchcock, and he put that in a book called Hitchcock Truffaut. At some point, I'll show you my book collection. A lot of them being film books, and one of them is Francois Truffaut. One of them is Hitchcock Truffaut, and so that this is just a bit of that interview that Truffaut had with Hitchcock, and it's featured on this disc. Next up, I do have this film. I had it on DVD, but I really like the extra features, and I sort of jumped the gun. I didn't watch the film right away. I've seen the film before, but I watched the special features. Well, one of them. It's Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky, which is a science fiction movie. And I watched the new interview with Jeff Dyer, author of Zona, a book about a film about a journey to a room. And this is a science fiction film that Tarkovsky made. There's history behind this, the making of this movie, where Tarkovsky and the cast and crew might have been infected with toxins on location, because Tarkovsky, when this film was made in 1979, it came out in 79, and Tarkovsky died about 8 years later, maybe 1987. His last film was The Sacrifice, I believe, which he made in Sweden with Sven Nykvist, who was Ingmar Bergman's cinematographer, and he died, I believe, of cancer. And there's rumors that on this film, Stalker, like the toxic environment they were in, they might have got cancer. I think some of the crew might have died in cast. I'm not sure on that. If you know anything about that, let me know in the comments below. It's not about the toxic atmosphere or Tarkovsky getting cancer. That's not featured in the interview with Jeff Dyer talking about the film. But it was a pretty interesting visual essay as to, why the film's important and what it means, and interpreting the movie. It's pretty interesting. And it's also got interviews from 2000 with set designer Rashid Safilian and composer Eduard Artemyev. And it's got an interview from the mid-1990s with cinematographer Alexander Kianiewski, and an essay by critic Mark Lefano. So, but this is a slow-paced movie. It's only got 100 or 200 shots. So they're very long takes. And when you think about that, when you think about really long takes, where you don't cut, you move the camera probably very slowly in a lot of the shots, that what you have to do in front of the camera, you have to know your lines, you have to know where to move in the room, that you have to move on your marks, and you have to know what you're doing. and that can be pretty logistically tough. So that's pretty fast. That's pretty interesting and fascinating how people can do that, with long takes. You can see it in films these days, like Children of Men, directed by. I have Children of Men over on my bookcase. I think it's directed by Inarritu. If you remember the director, just put it down there. And he also directed. What else did he direct? I think he directed Birdman, which I wasn't wild about, but it also uses those long takes. And Children of Men and Birdman, when they do a long take, they sort of stitch shots together, so it looks like one continuous shot. So that's just to add commentary onto Tarkovsky, who's a lot of his films he did really, really long shots. So he only had, 100 shots or 200 shots per film. His first film, which is probably my favorite of his, is Ivan's Childhood. And I think that's kind of different from the rest of his movies, because the second film he made was Andrei Rublev, and it's very noticeable the long takes in that. In Ivan's Childhood, I think it's a little bit different. The sound is kind of unique in that too, and I think the sound is unique in this film as well. Maybe a lot of Tarkovsky's films have interesting sound design. I would say so, because I've seen this, and I've seen The Sacrifice, I've seen Andrei Rublev, and I've seen Ivan's Childhood and Solaris. So, yeah. So, next film, it's a French movie. I think it's Robert Bresson's Last, L'Argent. Dina DVD showed this already on his channel. So, anyways, this looks interesting. I watched a press conference, a little bit of it. Like some of the people in the audience are asking, why are your films so confusing? And he says, confusing to whom? And he was answering back, and your films are full of despair, but I guess they have hope, He say, maybe they said, maybe the personal audience was saying, like, this film is like the most bleakest of your films. Somebody else had said something else. Oh, like, what is this film supposed to mean? And Bresson said to them, it doesn't really mean anything. It's more emotional feeling kind of approach to understanding the movie. So I'm looking forward to watching this. And there was something else on here too. Oh yeah, there's a 15-minute video essay called L'Argent, A to Z, and by film scholar James Quant. So when I watch these, maybe I'll try and make some videos as to what I think about these movies. Some of these movies I've seen, Stalker. Well, actually, now that I've only seen Stalker, I think, yes. Yeah, Stalker is the only one I've seen. Okay, so next up, we got a film by Sam Peckinpah starring Dustin Hoffman. It's earlier in the Criterion collection was starting. It's spine number 182, Straw Dogs. I think this is supposed to be a pretty violent movie. It's loaded with special features. It's got It's got an audio commentary by Stephen Prince, who wrote a book about Kurosawa called The Warrior's Camera. And in this book, Stephen Prince wrote author of Savage Cinema, Sam Peckinpah, and the Rise of Ultra-Violent Movies. And then there's Mantrap, Straw Dogs, The Final Cut, a 2003 documentary about the making of the film. And then a documentary about Sam Peckinpah called Sam Peckinpah, Man of Iron, a 1993 documentary, which is like an hour and a half, I think. And the one about the making of the movie is close to an hour. I think it's like 53 minutes, maybe. I just glanced through these. Usually when I get them in the mail or I buy them at the store, when I come home and I just skim through them real fast. I just jump around and look, just to get a taste, But I'm hoping to look at these in more detail at some point. But I've got other Criterions I've won previous sales and I haven't watched those, so I got a lot on my plate. Plus other films, that they have as well to watch, and other films at the theater. Well, I don't go to the theater really anymore. I go to I'm involved in a film festival, and I go to that every Wednesday. But maybe once in a great while, I'll go to the multiplex, and then I borrow films from the library where I work at, and then at the library in the city where I live as well. So, but so conversation between critic Michael Stragow and filmmaker Roger Spottiswoode, one of the editors on the film. New interview with film scholar Linda Williams about the film's controversies. Archival interviews with actor Susan George, producer Daniel Melnick, and Peckinpah biographer Garner Simmons. Behind-the-scenes footage, TV spots and trailers, and an essay by scholar and critic Joshua Clover, and a 1974 interview with Peckinpah. And something that's interesting about this special features on this disc, there's a woman, her last name's Haber, maybe her first name is Sandra, I can't remember. She's in the documentary, I believe, about the making of this movie. And I didn't watch the whole documentary, but I saw her featured on the documentary. I saw her talking on it. And I remember her, Catherine Haber, I think is her name. She worked on Blade Runner, and she's on the Blade Runner special features as well. So that's like an interesting tidbit of information. And the last Criterion I picked up was a Spanish movie that, what's his name? Pedro Almodovar says this. He says this director is just as good as Buñuel. I just bought it because the cover looked kind of interesting. And it's called The Executioner. And it's directed by Luis Garcia Berlanga. And I guess he's like a comedy director. He uses a lot of dialogue. And according to Almodovar, he uses, one of his trademarks is using overlapping dialogue of like 5 or 6 characters talking at the same time. And he makes kind of funny movies. And that this movie was released in '63, and he says that at that time was very what's the word I'm looking for? Troubled time, controversial time, because Francisco Franco was the head of Spain, and he had to tread lightly, so they had to use characters that wouldn't offend him. They had to do it, and they had to, like, it was like walking on eggshells, but they managed to make this film and make a commentary about Spanish society without, getting their feet wet or whatever, not without facing the fire, just managing to make a film that said something, and yet could escape the censoring of the Spanish government, something like that, So, and Pedro Almodovar, his films, I'm not wild about his films. Maybe Volvars is kind of interesting, but I'm not a huge Pedro Almodovar fan. But what he says here is pretty interesting. And he said the other great Spanish director of all time is Buñuel. And he says Almodovar says that this is he says this is the best film he's ever seen about the death penalty. So that's pretty interesting. Okay, so I'm going to show you one last thing. It's not a Criterion. And then I'm going to make an announcement. Okay, so this is Homeland. I got this for free at the library where I work at. Some patron brought these movies they're getting rid of, or TV shows. And I hear this is a really good television show. The Claire Danes character, I guess she's a bipolar, and she also works in the government. There's like intrigue in this, like I guess it's like the CIA maybe or something. I don't know exactly the whole um, spiel or what this exactly is about, but um, so this is the second season. So I feel if I want to watch it, I got to watch the first season. Now we have at my library where I work, I think we have all the seasons, but I sort of feel like I should buy all the other seasons. Maybe I'll buy them used, or I'll try. I don't know. But when 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 one of the people I worked with said, just take, if you feel like taking it, take it. So I took it. So probably at some point I'll watch this. Okay, and then the announcement. So recently, two people passed away. One was a legend of horror cinema, and that was George Romero. George Romero I met last year at the a horror fest convention, the third one I went to in the third year that I've attended it, and he was there as one of the guests, and he signed my Dawn of the Dead, which I've shown before, and he's a nice guy. I asked him, who are your favorite directors, and he said Hitchcock was one of them. He likes The Red Shoes by what's his name, Alan Pressburger. And when he was interviewed later on for a panel discussion, really, it was just him and a person interviewing him and some people from the audience, I guess. He moved to Canada, maybe because of it was easier to make films there, or I don't know, but he moved there for some reason. I have his other movies, and I haven't watched them all. I have the when I say his movies, I mean the Dead series. I have Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. All of those I've seen. I haven't seen Day of the Dead in a long time. And then I have Land of the Dead. I haven't watched that yet. And Diary of the Dead. And I think he made another one after that, which I don't have. So maybe I'll try and make that a point of watching those. But he's a nice guy. It's sad that he passed away, but I guess he was he was getting old, but it's always sad, when a legend like that dies. I think he lived life on his own terms, because like with when he made Night of the Living Dead, he made other films, The Crazies. I haven't really seen some of his other movies. I'd like to see Martin, but I don't know where to find a copy of that film. I know it's about a guy who thinks he's a vampire, I guess. But yeah, so he was a legend, and it's sad to see him go. And the other announcement I want to make is an actor recently passed away, Martin Landau. And I don't know him from a ton of movies. I just know him from a few. One of them being North by Northwest, which I've watched several times. Always enjoyed. Lots of fun to watch that movie. Never gets old. And he was also in Crimes and Misdemeanors, which is a really good, heavy drama. And he played a very interesting role as Bela Lugosi and Ed Wood. But maybe at some point I can see more of his films. And I think I saw some of Space. I think the show he was in called Space 1999. I remember that in the 70s when I was a kid. I don't know if I was really a fan or anything, but I think I saw it on TV a few times or something. But anyways, that's enough. I'm going on too long, I guess. So, all right. Thanks a lot for watching, and all Oh, and that marathon, you know, I'm not sure if I could do it in July or not. I got a vacation coming up. Maybe I'll do it when I come back. I'm going to be gone um, to see my family, and I'll be going up the last Friday of July to see them, and then coming back. And I think it's the first Sunday of August, and so I'll be up there for a week. So, all right. So thanks a lot for watching. I appreciate you watching, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. See you later.